A systematic review of effective reading strategies for students with intellectual disability. Problem: teachers often lack the necessary strategies to effectively teach diverse groups of students, including those with intellectual disability. Research question: what evidence-based teaching strategies have been shown to effectively support the development of reading skills in students with intellectual disability? Inclusion and exclusion criteria. Inclusion criteria consisted of peer-reviewed, studies published from 2015, intervention studies, individuals with ID, focused on reading development of English, including reading elements, conducted in a school. Exclusion criteria: studies published before 2015, descriptive studies, language other than English, individuals not with ID, preschool students, secondary students, adults, focus on writing formation. Overview of studies. From 213 articles, 11 intervention studies were included. These were within the last 10 years, included participants who were 7 to 12 years old, had small samples, conducted in a school setting, facilitated one-on-one or independently guided, targeted a reading skill. 4 studies aim to examine the effectiveness of a teaching practice. 4 studies aimed at both evidence-based practice alongside the intervention. Brief overview of key findings. All 11 studies showed skill improved as a result of the intervention. Effectiveness was mixed when looking at the maintenance of the skill. 10 of the studies used individualized instruction, with 1 being guided. Focus areas fell under comprehension or word recognition, supporting the background of literature. No significant finding with the type of resource used, as resources were mixed and include index cards, adapted text, slides, graphic organisers, apps, and online library. Findings were mixed with the range of practices used. Again, practices included constant time delay, simultaneous prompting, visual supports, to name a few. 8 studies used a variety of digital technology. These included apps, iPads, computer software, online library, laptops, and programs. 2 of the studies used a pre-made program. The use of evidence-based practices alongside intervention programs and/or resources was found in 8 studies. However, 4 of these did not include this in their aim. Research gaps. Following this evaluation, the following gaps were identified. Lack of studies of teaching strategies beyond the classroom. There were no studies that focused on the generalization of a learnt skill. Lack of studies implemented in a small group or with a peer partner. There were no studies that moved beyond individualized instruction, reducing segregation for the individual and working with a peer. Lack of studies looked at long-term reading strategies. There were no longevity studies that looked at primary school or beyond to give insight of how strategies are appropriate or need to evolve. Lack of studies comparing published reading programs. There is an extensive range of evidence-based programs available, as noted from 5 from 5. However, there was no study comparing the impacts of 2 or more programs, as well as gathering feedback from the students. Answering the research question. Research question. What evidence-based strategies have been shown to effectively support the reading skills of students with intellectual disability? Well, findings revealed that researchers used a range of teaching practices, resource tools, apps and programs, including digital and non-digital. However, it was intensive individualized instruction that was a common thread. Identification of audience for practical guide. The practical guide will be targeted towards classroom staff and beyond, including teachers, teaching assistants, and school leaders. This guide will focus on elements of reading skills to target, show how to effectively implement, and support teachers with recommendations and frameworks of further literature. Thank you.